y'all, it's Natalie for Cherry on Top Crafts today, and I have another rainbow layout coming at you. I am using my powdered pigments today. I was inspired recently by Emily, who works with a Cherry on Top. She used her color sparks, and I thought, ooh, I love using my powdered pigments. I'm gonna do a video using them my favorite way, which is through a stencil with texture paste. I love how texture paste allows them to kind of stay pixelated and show the different granules of the colors, and I'm going to show you how I do that. So I have clear gessoed white cardstock. I like to use textured white cardstock, and now I'm going to pick a stencil. I go with this one from Vicky Boutin, the new Vicky Boutin stencil pack. It's like bubbles or flowers. I'm not really sure what it is, but I'm going to do 6 different rainbow colors, and I'm just taking my Ranger matte texture paste and spreading it through the stencil in a rectangular way. And then before I lift the stencil, I'm going to sprinkle the pigment powders or the powdered pigments on it. And you can already see they start to kind of spread a little bit. I did give it a little spritz to give it a little activation, but also being on the wet texture paste, it still gives that granulated look. So I'm going to just take a scratch piece of paper just to not waste the pigment, and I'm going to kind of turn this stencil over and see if I can get some kind of cool design before I clean everything off. So this is the deal with pigments, with powdered pigments, is you've got to be really careful cleaning them up. A little goes a long way, but also, and there I am spritzing it and allowing to kind of go between the texture paste, but then still keeping some of it really separated. But anyway, sorry, you have to clean everything up really well because these little granules of color will kind of go all over the place, and you don't want them to intermix with anything else that might mess it up, like another color, or you don't want to get any in your texture paste. So I decided I could do 2 colors at once. So I do a larger rectangle now, and I'm going to do 2 different others of the powdered pigments. So this is a brusho, which they are super fun, very pigmented, it's crazy pigmented. And this is the best way I found. I have this little scoop tool, and I just kind of sprinkle it on with that because they don't come in a bottle like to sprinkle. And then this is Ken Oliver's color, I forgot what they're called, but basically he makes color sparks with a different company now. So anyway, it's the same concept though, and that is the color spark. So that is the new ones. The orange one was the new one. It's color sparks, and then the other bottles are his old kind of collections. They were called, like, I don't remember what they are called, but they're all fabulous. Ken Oliver makes them. And then there's also Nuvo shimmer powders, and they are very shiny and shimmery, but they are the same concept of like the powdered pigments and the granulated bits. So the phthalo green is my favorite, and it has different colors of blue and green and everything in there. And then that is another brusho, which is the very dark Prussian blue. And then I went with an indigo color, which is like straight up true rainbow, right? Because I didn't have a purple. I actually have a purple on the way to me, but it's more of a lilac, like lavender color. But anyway, this one is really cool. I really love the way this one pixelates because it has pinks and blues, and so it kind of looks like a galaxy. I decided they could run into one another, the colors as well, and it would look cool. I'm going to cut these up with dies anyway. And also, if it sounds like I'm in the middle of a rainforest, it's because I'm doing my voiceover outside because it feels amazing out. And I had the chance to take a break and come out here. So I hope you enjoy the sounds of nature. So we got a little rainbow thing. I'm going to do some stenciling later and probably try to transfer that over as well. But it definitely was a different color than the blue. I don't know that it's necessarily a purple color, but it works. So this is the mostly dried up close bit that I'm going to show you. Now I'm going to cut these up and run them through with that dye right there from Pink Fresh Studio. Now I let them dry for like a while, over 30 minutes probably. So I will tell you that still wasn't enough time. I had to put a little piece of paper over them so that it didn't smush onto my pads that I used to die cut. But it also smushed the texture paste a little bit when you go through the die cut machine, which like, duh, that makes sense, right? It like debossed it, but there's still texture, and I think it looks really cool. So I'm really happy with how that rainbow looks. I'm kind of just playing around with how I'm going to put it on the page, and I'm thinking of fanning it out this way on the side. I do change it up a little, but of course I pulled out my Spectrum Gardenia collection by 49th and Market, and I'm going to see how I can incorporate that. I tried to do a background paper from that, but I decided we had so much going on here that it was best to just stick with the white background, and I will add more to it, but all the other colors were just kind of too much when I did a different background. So I then decide to use that same die on my photos, but I'm gonna kind of like fussy cut around and just have the little inside circle because my photo wasn't big enough to use the entire die, but also because I did want it to be a little bit smaller so I could back it with the larger die cut piece in white and kind of intersperse the photos amongst the fanned colored bits. You'll see what I mean here in a minute. But you can find all the close-up shots and details over on the blog today on A Cherry on Top, and they will also have links to every single color that I use for the distress oxides and for the powdered pigments. So if you're interested in any of those products, definitely check that out. I'll link it down below. But I'll also throw my affiliate links down below if you are interested in just going straight there and skipping the tutorial and just buying stuff. I hope you're inspired to use them because I love my powdered pigments. So now I've pulled out this Retro Summer by Simple Stories sunburst stencil, and I'm going to create a rainbow sunburst from the bottom up, and I'm going to kind of, I've kept my rainbow there so that I can kind of color block it. So I put the red parts only where the red tag is, and the orange, and so on, all the way around. But I'm using my waffle flower blending brushes. I have a rainbow of them, so I don't have to like clean them off every time, which is really nice. And I'm just allowing the colors to kind of blend into one another. Distress oxides are beautiful and work well together. I am like kind of wetting my brush a little bit. I find that they slide onto the paper better when the brush is a little wet. I didn't have the perfect indigo color, so I am mixing some blues and purples to get that color, similar enough color. And then I lift the stencil, and I love that. And then I, for some reason, like start trying to like soften it up. And honestly, I did it. So I was like, well, I got to keep going. And I kind of hated it, but it actually ended up working out really well because I'm going to bring the rainbow down and the photos down a little bit more so that you can only just see a little bit of the cloudiness of this color behind any of the cracks in the rainbow bow. And, you don't really see that hot mess that I've got going on there. So anyway, but yeah, at first I was like, what did I do there? I totally messed that up, but that's okay. It worked out. It worked out, y'all. I also just added a little of the colors on either side of the backing of the photos so that they kind of flow well in my rainbow. And now I'm going to take all the distress oxides and create some watercolor with them and add splatter on the corresponding colors. And then I'm also going to do the same technique with clear water and roll it up with a paper towel. So distress oxides are reactive with water, and so that will create like a little bit of a mottled look, which is super fun. You'll see what I mean here in just a minute. So I'm loving the distressed nature of that. It kind of goes along with the Spectrum Gardenia collection that I thought about bringing in. You know, it's all nice and distressed. So yeah, do you see those like lighter color blobs? That's where I just spread the clear water and just rolled it up with the paper towel. So I just love that look that it gives, right? So now I'm going to go ahead and put all of my textured powdered pigmented pieces back on and make sure exactly where I want them to be. Start committing and sticking them down. So this is a new white piece of paper, obviously, and I did not put any gesso on that, just so you know. I just ink blended directly onto the background, and then when I added the splatter, it wasn't that much liquid, so you don't need gesso for that because you're not saturating the paper or anything, and also because you're immediately rolling it up. It didn't even warp the paper, really. So just playing around with how I'm going to situate everything, and just make sure to add a lot of adhesive, because with all of the ink and definitely the texture paste, it doesn't like to stick down really well. So this is the 12 by 12 sentiment rub-ons from the Spectrum Gardenia collection by 49th and Market. And I chose the joyful word because the kids were definitely joyful when they were jumping on their little like water pad thing. And they were just making funny faces and they look so happy. So I pulled out the definition of that word as well was on that rub-on sheet. And then I did that little like washi strip kind of thing at the top. So I pulled out my fabric tape. I thought about using that. Spoiler alert, I don't. But before I stick these down, I decided to rough up the edges. And then I'm going to ink them in black to kind of help bring cohesion to the page, because Spectrum Gardenia has a lot of black accents. So I thought since I'm using those black rub-ons, I would like to ink up the edges of these pieces in black. And now I'm going to commit and start sticking them down. And I'm really happy with how this turned out. I love all that rainbow. It is joyful, actually. I really love it. It's so happy. So let's see what's next. Oh, we're going to stick the photos down on top of, like, nestle them in their little corners here, which I'd already inked up the edges, so I knew where they went in the rainbow. Lachlan with his crazy long tongue sticking out, little weirdo. I am so happy with how that turned out. So I fussy cut this piece from the Elements laser cut, I think, and I'm going to ink it up, but I love the rainbow on it, and so I'm going to use it to kind of hide that little bit at the bottom, because I thought it would be a little bit difficult to just try to ink blend that circle, so I just decided to cover it up with something. And then I grab a few more of the laser cut pieces to add at the top with that little rub-on to give a good balance to the page. And I think we're calling it done soon. Sorry, I know this was a little bit of a long video. Let me know if you have any questions down below. I'd love to answer them. Like I said, I'm going to have the links down below, but also head over to the blog or the gallery on a cherry on top, and those will have all of the exact colors and products that I used, if they are still in stock in store. The Brushos are, I know, and then the Color Sparks are. The other ones are just a different, older version of the Color Sparks. But also they have Nuvo shimmer powder, which I did not use today, but those are the same type of option if you like the idea of using powdered pigments. I highly recommend it. They're super fun. I'm just going to add a little bit of a tag and a butterfly there in the middle, because I did have an empty section. And I'm happy with how that looks. Butterflies are joyful, right? And now I'm going to start rubbing on. I decided to move the definition up there at the top because it had a perfect little spot to nestle it in. So first you got to take the backing paper off before you start rubbing, huh? I was like, why isn't this going on? But I thought this was so fun. It was fun to make. I had a lot of fun making this page. I haven't been crafting as much lately, and so it's a lot. It's a use it, if you don't use it, you lose it thing, right? And so, I mean, obviously I'm not going to lose it. I've been crafting for a bazillion years, but I'm slower, or the idea definitely took a turn, because this isn't really exactly what I had planned at the very beginning. Of course, I'm happy with how it turned out, but yeah, I'm out of practice. I need to try to get into there more. So hopefully I'll be able to find some more time soon. I can't even talk right. I felt like the rub-on areas just needed a little bit more, so I pulled out some of the little tiny arrows that came from that rub-on sheet, and I'm going to put some on either section. And I thought about adding some gems or some sequins, but you know what? We got a lot going on here, so I decided to keep it simple as far as that went. As simple as you could call this layout. It's not really super simple, but it didn't need any more bling, I don't think. But that's going to call it a page. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'd love it if you'd like and subscribe. I'm really close to a new milestone, 1,200 subbies, so that would be cool. And I think I'm going to start doing some more shorts over here on YouTube, so stay tuned for that. Let me know what you think down below. I love to hear from you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching, and go check out the links down below. Bye, y'all.